I never expected to find love in the arms of a widow while giving up my farms for my son. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. The sun was setting, painting the sky in hues of crimson and orange, but all I could feel was the dull ache in my chest. My hands trembled as I tossed the last of my crops to the ground, the lush green fields around me now just a stinging reminder of what I was losing. Endless toil and sweat for nothing. I could hear the whispers of the townsfolk, their voices mingling with the rustle of the wind, speculating on my fate. I was dying inside, watching my world crumble bit by bit. My son, Tommy, just 8 years old, didn't understand. He watched me with wide, innocent eyes, expecting solutions. He was my reason, my light in the darkness. Oh, how I would sacrifice anything to protect him. The weight of responsibility pressed down on my shoulders like a mountain. And then I met her. Sarah. A widow grief etched into her porcelain skin, eyes that held a storm. It was a chance encounter, as I stumbled upon her at the local market, her basket teetering with fresh produce. She stood there, oblivious to the bustling world around her. Yet, there was something magnetic about her sorrow, something that called out to the remnants of hope I thought I'd buried. Her laughter punctured the heaviness of my heart, reminding me of forgotten joy. I saw her trembling hands as she selected a ripe tomato, the same way my hands trembled when I thought of my son's future. Days passed, and our meetings became more frequent. I reviewed my life choices, grappling with the sudden warmth cluttering my frozen mind. There was a spark between us, a dangerous flicker that could ignite a wildfire. But I was tangled in my own despair, suffocating under the burden of my failing farms and parental duties. Nothing could come from this. I had no room for love, especially not with a woman who was still shrouded in loss. Every time I gazed at her, I felt a knot in my stomach tighten. I could see the townsfolk's curious glances, their judgments looming like dark clouds. If I pursued this, would I push away my son, the very person I was fighting for? As summer faded into autumn, desperation filled the air. My farms were gone, the land now destined to be sold to the highest bidder. An unknown voice within me whispered that I could still hold on to Sarah, find solace in the connection despite the chaos around us. Just as I was about to confess my feelings, a knock on the door shattered the fragile moment. The figure on my doorstep was a person I never anticipated seeing again. Frightening. Shocking. Once buried emotions bubbled to the surface. What would this newcomer think of Sarah? Would they unravel everything I was building with her? I stood frozen, my chest tightening, watching as the door creaked open. The world outside, bustling with activity, felt every bit as daunting as the mystery that waited on my doorstep. Would Sarah understand? Would we be able to forge a life amidst the wreckage of our pasts? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The figure on my doorstep stepped into the dim light of my small living room, and recognition hit me like a freight train. It was Mike, my brother, a man I hadn't seen in years. The once vibrant spark of sibling camaraderie had long been extinguished in the fallout of misunderstandings and life's harsh realities. His face was gaunt, etched with the shadows of regret and remorse, but it was the look in his eyes, steely yet vulnerable, that made my stomach drop. "Hey, Jack," he said, the familiar rasp of his voice sending conflicting waves of anger and longing through me. "I heard about the farms. I came as soon as I could." He shuffled inside, guilt and desperation following him like a shroud. "Why now, Mike?" I managed, feeling my heart constrict as I remembered the bitter words exchanged the last time we spoke. "You turned your back on me when I needed you most. Where were you?" "I know, I'm sorry." He hesitated, shifting on his feet, a mixture of shame and determination radiating from him. I'm here to help. If his unannounced appearance wasn't enough to shake my reality, the awareness of Sarah in the other room was. She hadn't heard us yet, she was still in the kitchen, organizing what little I had left. I could picture her delicate frame as she sorted through the remnants of my shattered world, piecing together a sort of fragile domesticity amidst the ruins. I wondered if she could sense the tension creeping up in the air, heavy and palpable. Help? I scoffed, the bitterness spilling forth. What kind of help do you think you can offer after abandoning us? He took a long breath, the weight of my words weighing heavily on him. I lost my way too, brother. I wasn't brave enough then, but I'm trying to make it right. I have a plan. We can salvage some of the crops. I know people connections. If we move quickly, we could still make this work. A flicker of hope lanced through my despair but was quickly extinguished by the stark reality of our situations. Could I really trust Mike again? And at what cost? Just then, the sound of Sarah's laughter filtered into the room, breaking through the dark cloud looming over us. The strain in my chest loosened momentarily as her brighter essence filled the air. Is that Sarah? Mike asked, peering curiously down the hallway. I couldn't answer. How could I explain this convoluted mess, this collision of past and potential futures unfolding around me? Abandonment and betrayal inhaled like smoke into the cracks of my life while a fresh start glimmered just beyond my reach. Jack. Sarah's voice, sweet and soft, cut through the silence, growing closer. Is everything all right? With only a moment's pause, I turned to Mike. A silent counsel passed between us, an unspoken understanding of how quickly everything could spiral out of control again. Stay here, I whispered, urgency darting in my voice. Let me handle this. As Sarah stepped into the room, her eyes lit up at the sight of me, but then faltered when she noticed Mike. A subtle tremor ran through her as the warmth of her smile cooled, uncertainty radiating from her. Who? I'm Jack's brother, Mike interjected before I could stumble over my words. I came back to help. I saw the confusion linger on Sarah's face, her grace and warmth weighed down by the shadows of my past. Without thinking, I reached out for her hand, softly grasping it, letting her warmth spread through my cold fingers. But her expression felt guarded, as if she could sense the storm brewing beneath the surface. We need to talk. It was a blunt declaration, but it felt right. Amidst the hopeful flickers of connection Sarah had ignited within me, the very foundation of my life was trembling. I needed to come clean, lay bare the grime and grit of my reality so that Sarah could see everything who I was trying to be. But before I could speak, Mike's eyes darted around nervously, as though sensing the gravity of the moment. I can help, he insisted, this time laced with an air of desperation. I don't want to lose you two again. The uncertainty weighed heavily, yet I felt overwhelmed with emotion, love, confusion, hope. It was a heady cocktail of feelings that left me spinning. My gaze flicked from Mike to Sarah, both of their futures intertwined with mine, teetering on the precipice of possibility and despair, but in that suspended moment, the rumbling of approaching storm clouds echoed from outside, caressing the edges of my conscience. The fears I'd tucked away flickered back, threatening to drown everything I held dear. I could sense that whatever choice I made could lead us down a path from which there was no return. The tension in the room thickened, and Sarah's eyes bore into mine, searching for clarity, for reassurance. I clenched her hand tighter, but the suffocating reality of impending decisions shrouded us both in silence. As the first drops of rain began to patter against the window, I realized that the deluge wouldn't just be outside. My life was on the edge of a storm. Would I forge ahead, unearthing layers of trust with Sarah while wrestling with the specter of my past? Or would I allow Mike back into my life, risking everything I'd created while torn between loyalty and love? The questions loomed, dark and unanswered, and as Sarah's soft gasp echoed through the room, I knew with chilling clarity this moment would change everything. The rain began to pour in earnest, each drop rattling against the window like a rhythmic heartbeat, a mournful song to the turmoil swirling around us. I felt Sarah's hand tremble slightly within my grip, and the air hung heavy with the unspoken truths that loomed between us. "Jack," she whispered, concern etched into her every feature. The warmth I once cherished now began to feel precarious, dangerously close to slipping away like sand through my fingers. "What is going on? Why is Mike here? How much do you know?" I asked, my voice a mere whisper, strained under the weight of my past choices. My heart raced as I faced the moment I had feared most, the moment when the veil between my past and present would unravel, exposing the raw vulnerability hidden beneath. "Not much," she replied, her brow knitting together, frustration mingling with worry. "Just that you two fought. That he made choices that hurt you, hurt us." Mike stood awkwardly to the side, the faintest hue of regret coloring his features. I could see him fidgeting, his own anguish simmering just beneath the surface. There we were, the three of us, each carrying our baggage, fragmented yet desperately yearning for connection. "I came to apologize," he said, voice trembling. "I messed up, and I know I can't take back the past, but I want to make things right, for you both." The intensity of the moment stung. I caught a glimpse of the little boy we once were, full of dreams, inspired by the promise that family could withstand any storm. But dreams had transformed into unpaid bills and abandoned farms, and I wondered if love could ever grow in the soil left barren by time and neglect. "I get that you want to help, Mike," I said, each word an anchor to ground myself. "But trust doesn't come easy." I turned my gaze back to Sarah. "And I don't know what you want either. I want you to feel safe." Her voice was steady, yet her eyes glimmered with uncertainty. "But right now, you're both lost. I can't be the one to fix this for you, Jack." Those words hit harder than any storm outside. "You don't have to fix anything," I pleaded, my voice cracking. "I just need you to see me, to see my truth." A flicker of understanding seemed to pass between us, but it was clouded by the fear of what might come next. The boundaries of our relationship felt both heavy and fragile, as if they could shatter at any moment. "Please, let me help." Mike's plea was a soft, broken echo in the cacophony of our emotions. Sarah's gaze darted from me to Mike before landing on the rain-slicked window. A pause stretched out, heavy with all the things remaining unsaid. "And if we bring you back in, what happens if you leave again?" she asked finally. "I can't go through that heartbreak again." My heart dropped. The shadows of the past cast long, dark silhouettes, and I recognized her fear as my own. "You deserve stability after everything," I murmured, the admission a bitter pill to swallow. "But I don't think I could bear it if you turned away because of him." The pounding rain intensified, reflecting the emotional upheaval within. In that chaos, something small yet sparks of warmth emerged. A memory of our shared laughter, the way Sarah's hand rested on mine as we removed weeds from the garden, our fingers brushing against the earth, nurturing seeds of hope. Just then, amidst that introspection, a soft knock interrupted the storm raging outside. It was as unexpected as Mike's arrival, sending a ripple of anxiety through me. I glanced at Sarah, who raised an eyebrow, mirroring my confusion. What more could possibly go wrong? The knock came again, more insistent this time. I glanced at Mike. His own face betrayed a flicker of apprehension, as if he too sensed the gravity of this intrusion. "I'll get it," I said, more to reassure myself than anyone. With a shaky breath, I opened the door, bracing myself for the unknown. What greeted me was a woman cloaked in the unforgiving shadows of rain, her face obscured by the wild tendrils of damp hair. "Jack," she called, her voice a haunting echo I felt down to my bones. "Do I know you?" My confusion grew sharper, apprehension tightening around my throat. "I was a friend of Sarah's late husband," she said, her eyes wide and fearful. I have something you need to see." There was a flicker of recognition in her gaze, but it quickly morphed into an urgency that made my heart race. "It's about the farms. There's something you have to know." That simple yet incendiary statement sent chills down my spine. I turned back to the living room, where Sarah and Mike stood frozen, a tableau of uncertainty. What could possibly matter now? I thought, feeling the weight of the world shift beneath my feet. The storm inside and outside raged on, weaving a tapestry of doubt and fear. The complexities of family and love tangled together, wrapping around my heart, squeezing tightly as I realized, this night was far from over, and every word yet to be spoken held the potential to change everything forever. The woman at the door held my gaze like a lighthouse through a stormy sea. Her presence stirred a tempest of feelings within me: fear, hope, and an insatiable curiosity that clawed at my insides. "What is it? What do you know about the farms?" I asked, breathless. "I can't explain it here, please." Her voice was urgent, eyes darting nervously behind her. "You need to trust me, Jack." I hesitated, trapped between the turmoil brewing in the room behind me and the compelling urgency of the stranger before me. Sarah's voice called out softly from the shadows. "Who is she, Jack?" I turned back to the living room. Sarah's expression was a mix of concern and an analytical wariness that I had seen so many times before. Mike lingered by the sofa, the weight of the past he carried evident on his face, blending with uncertain curiosity about this new player in our tangled drama. A flicker of desperation washed over me. "I don't know. Just give me a moment." The storm outside mirrored the one in my chest. I stepped outside, closing the door slightly, creating a barrier between me and the palpable tension inside. Her damp hair clung to her face, revealing eyes that were reflective pools of sorrow. I knew Sarah's late husband. We were friends, and after his passing, I uncovered something that might concern you. "Concern me?" I echoed, disbelief tightening my chest. "You don't even know me." "I know enough," she replied, her tone tinged with urgency. "This isn't just about the farms, it's about the legacy he left behind. There are things buried in the field, secrets, lies, and a chance for redemption." My heart raced as I processed her words, each revelation clawing at the remnants of the life I longed to protect. "What do you mean? What kind of secrets?" The rain drummed a frenetic beat on the roof, drowning out our voices for a moment, and then she took a step closer, the distance between us shrinking. "Please, Jack. Let me show you. There are old records, documents my late husband stashed away, something he wanted to reveal but couldn't before he died. If you care about those farms, about everyone involved, you need to understand the truth." I swallowed the sudden knot in my throat. I'm not sure what I care about anymore. My life feels upside down, I admitted, the weight of my confusion spilling into my words. "You care about Sarah," she said softly, her gaze intensely locking onto mine. "She still loves you despite everything. But this could change everything for you both." Just then, a flicker of warmth ignited in my chest, igniting a long-buried hope. Sarah's struggle to hold on to me, despite the complications that Mike's return had wrought, was emblematic of what I too felt. But could I unearth the courage to accept both the past and its shadows? "I'll think about it," I said, my voice barely more than a whisper, the idea of reopening those wounds both terrifying and strangely exhilarating. As I turned to go back inside, ready to confront the swirling emotions that awaited me, the woman grasped my arm. "Jack, if you do attempt to dig into this, be prepared for what you might uncover. Not everything buried stays hidden, and some secrets are worth more than gold." Her words lingered in the air, heavy with cation. I stepped back into the living room, the warmth of Sarah and Mike's anxious presence beckoning me forth. "What did she want?" Sarah asked, her concern etched deep within the lines of her forehead. "Something about the farms," I replied, uncertainty creeping in. "But it might also be about your late husband." The tension shifted as Mike's gaze slid to the floor, the implications washing over him. "You're not saying he was involved in something illegal, are you?" His voice cracked slightly, revealing a vulnerability I hadn't expected. "I don't know," I admitted, the weight of the secret tumbling around within me. "But she spoke of buried truths, things we need to confront." Sarah's expression morphed from worry to determination. "Maybe this could help us understand everything, help you decide what you want for the future." For a moment, the idea sparkled in the darkness, igniting a flicker of hope amidst the shadows of doubt. But uncertainty loomed larger than ever. What if digging deeper only caused further ruin? What if the discoveries fractured the thin line of trust we were trying to rebuild? What if whatever's out there pulls us apart instead? I asked softly, heart racing at the thought no one dared voice. The room fell silent, the weight of unfulfilled promises pressing down on us. Then at least we'll know, one we. Sarah replied, her voice steady, resolute. We one have to wonder what if. I couldn't help but be moved by her strength, this fragile yet unyielding spirit in the face of uncertainty. Our eyes met, and for a beat, the world around us faded, leaving just the unbreakable connection forged from shared pain and inevitability. But then, the obituary I hadn't checked loomed back, recollections painfully fresh. Before I could speak again, a sudden crash of thunder punctuated my thoughts, echoing through each of us. Something about its roar felt like an omen, stirring my heart into a frenzy of foreboding, reminding me that the tempest outside mirrored my own internal struggle and the secrets waiting to be unearthed. Maybe we'll find the strength we need, I murmured, uncertainty still threading my every word, while deep within me an unsettling realization curled tighter, but as the storm raged, it was just the beginning. What awaited us in the unturned soil would test not just our bonds, but the very fabric of the love we desperately clung to. I looked from Sarah to Mike, knowing whatever the truth was, it was waiting to be unleashed, untamed and furious. The rain intensified, cascading in heavy sheets, each drop whispering secrets against the windowpane. The wind howled like a wounded creature, filling the silence between the three of us with an unspoken dread. I felt a surge of defiance rising within me, wrestling against the fear that loomed just beyond the brink of discovery. Maybe we should start digging, I suggested lightly, trying to keep the mood afloat, but the assertion sounded hollow even to my ears. Sarah's brow furrowed, and Mike's face paled, revealing perhaps too much of their concern. I watched as the tension thickened the air, turning our shared space into a kind of crucible, a place where emotions simmered dangerously close to boiling. I could look into some of the old files my husband kept, Sarah finally offered, her voice a delicate thread weaving through our fears. He might have noted something that could lead us to whatever the woman spoke about. Is that really wise? Mike interjected, his tone wary. What if we dig up something that shatters us entirely? My heart echoed his concern, but deep down, I sensed that avoiding the truth wasn't a solution, it was a slow poison seeping through our lives. The truth feels like our only option, I said, my voice steadying as I spoke. We can't keep living in the dark. Then we should go through the files together, Sarah proposed, a flicker of resolve igniting in her eyes. Whatever we discover, we face it as a team. The warmth of solidarity wrapped around me momentarily, binding our spirits together. Yet, a fleeting thought flickered past, urging me to tread cautiously. Would this awakening of the past really bring us closer, or would it bestow revelations capable of tearing apart the remnants of our fragile bonds? As we gathered around the dining table, the storm continued to echo outside, its rhythm synchronized with the staccato of our hearts beating in unison. Sarah pulled out a box from a shelf high above the kitchen counter, dust motes dancing in the dim light as she placed it before us. I peered inside, half tempted to turn back, to shut it all away, but there was an insatiable pull toward the unknown and irrational hunger to confront it all. Let's just see, she said, her fingers trembling slightly as they sifted through the documents. If we don't like what we find, we stop. The first pieces of paper barely held my attention, faded receipts and mundane notes, nothing that stirred the storm brewing in my gut. But then, amidst the clutter, Sarah pulled out a folded sheet. As she unfolded it, her expression shifted to one of urgency. Jack, she began, her voice trembling as if the world had narrowed down to just this moment. What's wrong? I asked, leaning closer. It's a letter, she said, her voice barely a whisper, almost lost amidst the relentless rain. From your father. My heart plummeted, the revelation hitting me with the force of a punch. My father had passed years prior. His legacy had left behind a myriad of sour memories and unspoken disagreements that festered like an open wound within me. What could he possibly have to say now? Read it, I instructed, barely above a murmur. As she began to read, the words tumbled into the air, echoing haunting memories. My father's distinctive script danced clumsily across the page, fraught with emotion and unfiltered truth. I can't express how sorry I am for the hurdles we've faced. I never wanted my decisions to poison your view of family. The words twisted like a knife in my gut. My father apologized. Why now? And who was he to bend time and space with mere words after abandoning us when we needed him most? Keep going, I urged Sarah, driven by a mixture of torment and the desperate need for closure to his long-buried regrets. As she continued reading, I forced myself to focus on the contents, grappling with the swirl of anger and empathy battling within me. There are things I've done that haunt me, connections I've hidden. Our family has a history deeply rooted with the farms, and I fear it's not only about the land. If my past comes to light, it may put you all in peril. What? Mike interjected, disbelief washing over him. What did he mean? As Sarah's voice broke through with the final lines, a chill ran down my spine. I've left something for you, Jack. Something tangible to either build upon or destroy. Use it wisely, for it can break or mend. The letter slipped from Sarah's hands, fluttering down like a fallen leaf, echoing the uncertainty that filled the room like dark fog. What could he possibly mean? What could be so dangerous? I stammered, feeling the walls of reality closing in. I don't know, but we need to find out, Sarah replied, panic flickering in her eyes. We have to confront whatever it is. The storm howled outside, striking the roof as if mirroring my rising dread. Just then, a blinding flash of lightning illuminated the room, and a loud crack of thunder shook the foundations of our fragile alliance. In that moment, uncertainty gripped me tighter than ever. Buried secrets were not just waiting to be unearthed but demanded to be acknowledged with the gravity they deserved. But before I could say another word, my phone buzzed sharply, slicing through the weight of the moment. I glanced down, and a new message blinked up at me, a notification that sent a chill spiraling through my gut. It's from the woman at the door, I breathed, heart racing. The words on the screen felt like a surrender to fate. Meet me at the old barn by the farm. We need to talk. Now. With dread pooling inside, I looked from Sarah to Mike, the gravity of my choices crystallizing into an urgent reality. The path ahead could lead us to either redemption or ruin, but it was a journey we had to undertake, no matter the cost. The air felt electric as I stared at my phone, the message from the mysterious woman igniting a fire of questions and apprehension inside me. We need to go, I said, my voice steadier than I felt. The urgency crept into every corner of my consciousness, each second ticking away like the countdown to a storm I could no longer avert. What if it's a trap? Mike asked, his brow knitted in concern. We don't know what she wants. Sarah, however, looked resolute. We can't ignore her. If she holds more pieces of this puzzle, we owe it to ourselves to listen. She folded her hands in front of her, her body tense, as if readying herself for something monumental. Reluctantly, I nodded. Deep down, the desire to understand my father's cryptic words and the connection to this woman pushed me forward. Fine. Let us go, I said, my heart thumping wildly as we prepared to face what lay ahead. As we stepped outside, the storm had calmed, but the clouds still loomed overhead, dark and heavy like my thoughts. We hurried toward the barn, the ghostly outline of its dilapidated form emerging through the darkness. With each step, I felt the weight of my decisions pressing down on me, mingling with the remnants of fear and anger toward my father. Was it wise to summon shadows long buried for the sake of revelation? When we arrived, the barn creaked softly in the wind, an eerie sound echoing through the stillness. I hesitated, anxiety clawing at my insides, but the door creaked open slowly, revealing the figure of the woman from before, her silhouette a haunting presence against the dim light spilling in from the slats. I was wondering if you'd come, she said with a voice that was both haunting and soothing. Shadows danced across her features as if embracing her secrets. I didn't expect you to respond so soon. What do you know? I demanded, my voice mingling anger and necessity, hoping to push through the walls of obscurity that had shrouded our lives for too long. More than you realize, she replied, stepping into view, her eyes reflecting something I couldn't quite decipher. Your father's actions were not as simple as they seemed. There are stories, connections hidden under layers of grief and guilt. Why should we trust you? Mike interjected, his fists clenched. You showed up at our door, and now you expect us to believe you hold the key to our family's history? There's a reason I found you, she said. It's not just about your father. It's about your future, about what your family has inherited, the weight of the legacy he left behind. Enough games, I replied, forcing my voice to remain steady amidst the whirlpool of uncertainty. What do you want? I want to help you, tell you the truth so you can find closure. But I can't share everything here. Not in the open where you might be overheard. Her eyes darted to the surrounding darkness, an undercurrent of fear threading through her words. There are those who would do anything to keep the truth buried. As she spoke, I felt the air around us thicken, charged with the weight of unspoken stories that lingered like ghosts in the rafters above. I glimpsed at Mike and Sarah, their expressions reflecting shared disbelief and mounting anxiety. Follow me, she urged, turning on her heel. Reluctantly, we followed her deeper into the barn, the atmosphere shifting with every step, anticipation mixed with dread wrapping around us like a shroud. That we reached a small, locked door at the back, cleverly concealed by stacks of dusty hay. She produced a key from her pocket, the metallic sound echoing ominously as she inserted it into the lock. This is where the real story lies, she whispered as the door creaked open, revealing a dark room filled with boxes and old artifacts. What is all this? I asked, a wave of trepidation washing over me as light flooded into the space. This is your family's history, she said, stepping aside to let us enter. Each box holds secrets, memories that have been kept hidden for your protection. But some things should never remain buried. As I stepped inside, a chill raced down my spine. Dusty journals, old photographs, and letters lined the shelves, each item pulsating with untold stories. I approached one box, forcing myself to sift through the contents, my heart racing with each unveiling images of my father, a younger version of him with a woman I didn't recognize. Her presence seemed to pull me closer, longing pouring out from the faded memories. What do you see? The woman asked, her voice laced with suspense. It's him, I murmured, my fingers trembling over the photograph. But who is she? Before she could answer, my phone buzzed again, cutting through the thick tension like a knife. Startled, I took it out, and my heart sank as I read the message. I know what you're looking for. I know everything. Meet me at the creek, or it will be too late. What is it? Mike asked, noticing my surprise. Someone else is involved, I confessed, my mind racing. Someone who knows everything. Sarah took a step closer, her concern infectious. Jack, we can't split up now. We need to maintain focus despite what is happening. All these new layers made of secrets could mean danger at every turn. I know, I replied, but I can't ignore this. If it leads to the answers we need, how can we stand still? Before either of them could respond, the walls of the barn groaned under the weight of an unseen force, sending a shudder rippling through the floorboards. I exchanged worried glances with Sarah and Mike, and dread coiling within me like a serpent ready to strike. Go, the woman urged sharply, her eyes now alight with urgency. You must find out what she knows before it's too late. This isn't just about your father, it's about all of you. As we stepped out into the night, the dim glow of the moon illuminated our path ahead, casting elongated shadows of uncertainty. A sense of urgency propelled us toward the creek, where the next revelation waited. But I couldn't help but feel that with each answer we chased, the past was waiting to reclaim us, its grip tightening as we moved closer to the truth. With my heart pounding, I knew I was on the brink of discovering not just the legacy my father had left behind but also my own, woven through layers of heartache, love, and the unbreakable bonds of family, driven by choices made long before I had a say in them. And as the night deepened, I understood that whatever truth awaited us could change everything. The moon hung high in the sky as we made our way toward the creek, its light shimmering on the water's surface like scattered diamonds. Each step felt heavier than the last, the air thick with unspoken tension and trepidation, any hope I had felt earlier fading into the night. I could hear the rustling of leaves overhead as the wind whispered secrets, and for a fleeting moment, I felt as if the world around us was alive, watching, waiting. What if this is a mistake? Sarah voiced softly, breaking the silence that had cocooned us since we left the barn. The sound of her voice echoed in the quiet night, sending a ripple of doubt through my heart. What if this person is just as dangerous as the last? I don't think we can afford to think that way, Mike replied, his practical demeanor masking the fear uncertainty brewed within him. We came this far. We need answers, and this might be our last chance. I inhaled deeply, feeling the weight of reality sink in. For weeks, I had been searching for answers, as if by piecing together fragments of my past, I could somehow mend the chaos that had appended our lives. But now, that quest felt burdened by the fears of what I might uncover about my father and the life he had left behind. The truth had always been ephemeral, slipping through my fingers when I grasped too tightly. As we approached the creek, a figure emerged from the shadows. My heart jolted, quickening its beat as the woman from the message became visible. She stood at the water's edge, the moonlight casting an ethereal glow on her features. There was an ache in her expression that seemed to echo my own confusion. "I'm glad you came," she said, her voice trembling slightly within the air, as if the weight of our impending conversation pressed upon her. "I know you're looking for answers, but what I have to share isn't easy." "Then tell us," I urged, my desperation spilling into the night. "We don't have time for niceties. What do you know about my father?" She hesitated, the flickering shadows around her capturing the play of uncertainty in her eyes. "Your father, he was involved in something far more complex than you understand. It wasn't just about the farm, the land, or even the family. He was part of a network, an underground." That her voice faltered, and she took a deep breath, steeling herself. "It revolved around secrets that could change everything you think you know." "Secrets?" Sarah interjected, her voice rising with curiosity but laced with dread. "What kind of secrets?" "Life and death, betrayal and loyalty," she replied, her gaze drifting to the water, a tumult of emotions swirling behind her eyes. "I'm here because I had hoped to protect you all, but it seems time has run out." A sense of urgency knotted in my stomach. "What do you mean by that?" "Protect us from what?" "From those who will stop at nothing to bury the past," she replied, her gaze sharpening as if sensing the weight of unseen dangers lurking just out of sight. "Your father made choices that tied him to this existence, choices that, if left unchecked, could bring hardship down upon you and your family." A low murmur of doubt filtered through my mind, churning wildly. "What are you saying? That because of something he did, we're in danger now?" Before she could respond, a rustling sound broke the otherwise serene atmosphere of the creek, causing us all to tense. The shadows shifted further down the bank, silhouettes emerging with silent intent. I turned just in time to see two figures stepping out from the trees, a smirk dancing across one's lips that sent a chill racing through me. "Looks like we found you, just in time," one of them said, dipping his hands into his pockets as his eyes locked onto the woman. "I thought you'd disappear like the ghost you are, but here we are." "How convenient. What do you want?" I challenged, stepping forward despite the fear that coursed through my veins. "You have no business here." "Oh, but we do," the second figure replied, a predatory gleam lighting up his eyes as he advanced toward us. "We're here to settle some unfinished business." A surge of panic gripped me. My heart raced as I turned to the woman, fear lacing my voice. "What is going on? Who are they?" "This is exactly what I warned you about." She snapped, her voice strained as if grappling with the gravity of our situation. They know too much about your father's past, and they will stop at nothing to ensure that whatever truths linger here are silenced forever. As tension escalated, I felt Mike's hand brush against mine, a reminder that I didn't stand alone. But a single glance at Sarah, whose face was now pale and drawn, and it was clear that the fear we all felt was becoming a tangible, suffocating presence. Before we could react, the figure closest to us lunged forward, and everything erupted into chaos. I could hardly make sense of the shouts, the frantic movements, and the chaotic splashes of the creek water as I felt myself pulled back, instinctively guarding Sarah from the sudden attack. "Run!" I shouted, an order that felt surreal amidst the chaos, but we had no choice. We had ventured too deep into a web of secrets and danger, and the truth we sought was now leading us into darkness. As we sprinted away from the bank, my mind raced with thoughts of what might be revealed if we managed to escape. But with every step, I couldn't shake the foreboding feeling that whatever I uncovered would forever change the very fabric of what it meant to be part of this family, and just as the weight of fear settled over me like a pall, I heard a ragged breath behind me, a sound that would anchor my heart in a state of dread. Would we uncover the truth, or would it leave us forever changed, shackled by a past neither of us had foreseen? The answers lay tantalizingly out of reach, just as the night darkened around us, swallowing our hope. The night swallowed us whole, the adrenaline coursing through my veins blending with the chill of the air. I could hear the frantic beating of my heart pounding in my ears, drowning out everything else as we careened through the thicket. The darkness felt alive, tendrils of fear tightening around my throat, suffocating the hope that had flickered in me moments before. "Thank you, Dad." A silent mantra echoed in my mind, mingled with a pleading prayer that we would make it out alive. "Left. Over here," Mike yelled, his voice breaking my trance. He gestured toward a narrow path hidden by a dense cluster of bushes, the way indistinct in the dim light. With barely a moment to question, we darted into the opening, heartbeats in sync with the pounding of our feet against the earth. As we pushed deeper into the forest, I stole a glance behind us, every step laden with dread. The figures from the creek were still following, their shadows lurking not far behind, ominous and predatory. They were relentless, and each flicker of movement instilled a terror that paralyzed any rational thought I had left. "Are we safe?" Sarah gasped, her breath coming in sharp, ragged bursts. I could see her fighting to stay strong, but her eyes betrayed her. The night offered no solace, only despair at the uncertainty that loomed over us like a storm cloud. "Not yet," I murmured, forcing optimism that I didn't quite feel. Each word weighed down by the reality that pressed heavier on my chest. I couldn't let them see my fear, not now. "Keep moving." We stumbled through the trees, branches snagging at our clothes, fueled only by adrenaline. My mind raced through memories, through all the moments I'd shared with my father before the secrets unfolded and shattered our lives into fragments. What dark path had he walked that now threatened to swallow us whole? Suddenly, we broke into a small clearing. Moonlight poured over us, illuminating the panic-stricken faces of each person in our group. In the center, precariously still as if frozen in time, lay an old cabin, its wooden frame weathered and worn. A spark of unexpected hope ignited in my chest, the faint notion that we could seek refuge within it, a brief sanctuary from the maelstrom that threatened to undo us. "Inside," I urged, ushering the group toward the door. It creaked ominously as I pushed it open, revealing a dusty interior steeped in shadows, remnants of a life suspended in time. As we entered, the weight of uncertainty lingered in the air, thick with stories begging to be told. "I used to come here with Dad," I whispered to myself, feeling the memories wrap around me like a long-lost embrace. "He would tell me about the beautiful gardens he wanted to plant." My voice trailed off, realities colliding like waves crashing against the shore. "Listen." Sarah broke the silence, her eyes wide with fear. The echoes of footsteps approached, growing louder, threatening. "Shoo." Mike's voice was barely more than a whisper, his hands poised at the ready, eyes scanning the room as if preparing to defend us from unseen enemies. "We have to barricade the door," I suggested, looking frantically around for anything heavy enough to provide some semblance of protection. My heart raced, thinking of my son, and I wondered where he was as fear clawed at my insides. As we scrambled to find something, a beam of light pierced through the cracks of the wooden walls, illuminating remnants of a forgotten past, a family photograph, frayed at the edges, perched upon a dusty mantel. My breath caught, freezing me in place. It was a picture of us, together, arms around each other, laughter echoing in a tableau frozen in time. My father's smile twinkled in the moonlight, warmth radiating through the musty cabin. Suddenly, the door rattled violently against the frame, and fear shot through me. "They're here!" I shouted, adrenaline surging as we shoved an old table against the door. "Is there another way out?" Sarah's voice cut through my haze of panic, her desperation matching my own. "I don't know," I yelled back, heart thundering as we quickly made our way to the back, the creaking of floorboards threatening to give way beneath us. As we reached the rear of the cabin, I spotted a window, slightly ajar, beckoning us to safety. "This way." The plea slipped from my lips as I fought against the fear pooling in my stomach. Just as I lost my grip on hope, Mike and Sarah scrambled up to the window, and urgency pushed us forward. I felt a surge of gratitude for their bravery as each of us made our way through, willing to escape the grip of our past, even if it meant risking everything all over again. We tumbled from the window into the cool embrace of the night, breathless and desperate. But as I rose to my feet, scanning the surroundings, I noticed something in the distance that sent a chill through my bones: an unfamiliar car, idling just beyond the tree-line, engine purring like a predator waiting for the right moment to strike. "Come on!" I hissed, pulling them close. "We have to hide." As I glanced back one last time, the shadows in the clearing began to move, their silhouettes shifting ominously. I felt an unsettling weight settle over us, threatening to crush everything we were trying to escape, and then I saw her, the woman from the creek, standing just outside the door, illuminated for a fleeting moment by the moonlight before vanishing into the darkness. I swore my heart stopped, a revelation crashing over me like an icy wave. What if she was more connected to our plight than we realized? What if her secrets, too, could shatter our fragile hopes? With fear racing through me and uncertainty clutching at my throat, I turned to follow Mike and Sarah, but deep inside I felt the pull of an undeniable truth: we weren't just running from something. We were running toward it, and the answers we sought echoed somewhere in the darkness, waiting to challenge everything we thought we knew about ourselves, and about love, loss, and sacrifice. The forest swallowed us whole as we ran, branches clawing at our skin and the underbrush tugging at our feet like the desperate hands of the past. The fear that had driven us to the cabin now transformed into a raw, pulsating panic, igniting my senses with every distant rustle. I wanted to scream, to find some fragment of calm amid the absolute chaos, but urgency propelled me forward, the need to protect my friends and my son practically choking me. "Where do we go?" Mike shot me a look, his eyes mirroring the confusion and dread we all felt. That I glanced over my shoulder, my breath hitching in my throat as I caught the faint glimmer of headlights cutting through the trees. A shiver rolled through me, not just from the chill of the night, but from the realization that our pasts were chasing us with relentless fervor. "This way," I said, motioning down a barely visible old logging trail, overgrown and shrouded in shadows. As we stumbled onward, I remembered the stories Dad had told me about these woods, tales woven with enchantment and whimsy. I still could see his smile as he spoke of the winding trails and hidden clearings, where magic lingered in the air like the scent of pine and wet earth. But now, those memories were tainted, suffocated by the dread that haunted me. "Do you think they'll catch up?" Sarah's voice trembled, a quiver that sparked my need to shield her, yet it brought a sense of hopelessness flooding back. I couldn't bear the thought of her fear, her bright spirit dimmed by terror. "Not if we keep moving," I replied, biting back the tremor threatening to spill into my throat. "Just keep your eyes open." We lost ourselves in the thick foliage, every rustle echoing around us like whispers of trouble lurking just beyond. I stopped at the sight of a moss-covered stone wall, another remnant from that happier time. My heart ached for the innocent days when the biggest decision had been which tree to climb, not whether to escape menacing shadows evident in our lives. "Let us hide here," I suggested, pressing against the cool stone as we melded among the creeping vines that clung to the weathered brick. My heart raced as we breathed heavily, listening intently to the sounds of the night, the low hum of cicadas, the rustle of the wind. An icy tension wrapped around me as we caught our breaths, punctuated only by the distant sound of laughter, an unsettling reminder of a world we were not part of at that moment. Then, quite suddenly, a glimpse of light flickered in the corner of my vision. I turned, heart racing. A figure stood, barely discernible in the gloom, a faint halo from a lantern illuminating a worn face, a woman, her hair cascading down one shoulder in wild disarray. The flickering light offered a momentary sense of timelessness, and yet a heaviness wrapped around her, echoing my own struggles borne on unyielding shoulders. "Are you lost?" she asked softly, her voice almost a feather carried by the wind. "Who are you?" I blurted, instinctively pulling the others closer. "Just someone who knows these woods," she replied cautiously, her eyes flicking toward the path we had come. "They're searching for you. I can help." My instincts screamed caution, yet her weary gaze carried a weight that felt both empathetic and deep-rooted. "Why should we trust you?" Mike challenged, stepping forward protectively. "Because I've been where you are," she said, her voice breaking slightly. "Running from the darkness, searching for something you can't name." Her words struck a chord within me, reverberating through the remnants of memories that clung to my heart. "You're not the first to come here. I've helped others like you." Others? My mind raced with questions. Were there more stories intertwining with ours? Were we still jumping blindly into something unknowable, or could she be our lifeline? "Others who've lost their way," she insisted, her eyes searching mine with a hint of something I couldn't quite place, a flicker of understanding, perhaps. "But I promise, your best chance lies in staying hidden until the danger passes." Hope flickered in the silence. Before dying out, cold as the air around us. "We can't stay here forever," I murmured, grappling with the tantalizing notion of thrusting forward into her unknown. The thought of new paths ahead, maybe even a glimmer of safety. "Maybe not forever, but for now, you must trust me," she urged as she took a step closer, the lantern casting her face into shadows that danced with the light. "Let me help you find the answers you seek." "I just want my son back," I found myself confessing, feeling the weight of my own helplessness. The yearning clawed at me, raw and untamed, like a wild beast longing for freedom. The woman tilted her head, her expression softening. "What if I could help you, not just to find him, but to understand the truth that binds you all? There's more at play here than you know." Before I could respond, the distant sounds of footprints began to echo through the trees again. I felt my heart drop, a stark reminder that we were still under relentless pursuit. "Go. Now," she hissed, urgency penetrating her tone as she took a step back. "I'll buy you time." Conflicted, I turned to Mike and Sarah, torn between the safety of the shadows and the unknown passage she offered. I didn't know if I could trust her, but I knew we had to make a choice, and fast, the whispers of danger closing in around us. The moment of hesitation stretched, raw and heavy, as she pointed down another narrow path, one that, like our circumstances, bore no guarantees. "Follow this. Don't look back." With every beat of my heart, I felt the weight of her words, a siren song luring me into darkness, where the truth thrummed faintly amidst the struggle and pain. I exchanged glances with my friends, uncertainty etched deep in every line on their faces. And as I finally took a deep breath, pain slashing through me like an open wound, I turned to heed her call, hoping against hope that we could find the light hidden within the shadows. With one last look back at the mysterious woman, I could almost see a glimmer of sorrow in her eyes, a reflection of the countless stories waiting to be uncovered, but we were caught in a whirlwind of imminent danger, unable to linger. What awaited us down the hidden path felt uncertain, a weave of risks and unknowns interlaced with desperate prayers for safety. As we began to run, the eerie realization washed over me: the more we uncovered of our past, the more clarity we risked losing in our present. The forest echoed around us, and I could hear both the sounds of pursuit and the whispers of old wounds clawing at my heart. With every step, the promise of safety entangled with consequences we hadn't yet begun to fathom, and my pulse quickened, knowing this was only the beginning. I woke to a gentle light filtering through the trees, dappled shadows dancing on the forest floor like fragments of forgotten joy. For a moment, the world felt peaceful, as if the night's chaos had peeled away to reveal a serene morning. But the calm could not mask the turmoil churning inside me, the frayed edges of what we had experienced still vivid in my mind. As I sat up, memories of the chase rushed back like a flood, scenes etched with fear, uncertainty, and a flicker of betrayal. "Jack, wake up," Mike's voice broke through my haze, urging me to snap back into the moment. I glanced over, noting the tension carved into his features, the remnants of the terror we had faced lingering ominously. "We have to decide what to do next." Sarah was beside him, her eyes clouded with exhaustion and worry. I reached for her hand, the warmth grounding me amidst the chaos that lurked just beyond our fragile serenity. "Any idea what happened last night?" I asked, feeling the weight of the previous evening's events hanging in the air, our confrontation at the creek, our narrow escape, and, most importantly, the dangerous figures trailing closely behind. "I don't know, but that woman," Mike hesitated, uncertainty tumbling from his lips. "She seemed invested in this. In knowing about your father. I'm starting to think there are things we don't know that could change everything." I nodded, anxiety creeping up my spine. "Yeah, but what if they're dangerous? She left us behind, how do we even know we can trust her?" Sarah's gaze softened, and she squeezed my hand gently. "What if she's right? What if understanding the truth leads us to our answers? We must know what we're up against." We rushed out without a plan. "I agree," I sighed, running my fingers through my hair, grappling with the tension of uncovering my father's past while safeguarding the pieces of our fragile present. "But we need more information. We have to dig deeper." My voice felt steady, yet a flicker of fear still caught at the edges of my resolve. The sun rose higher, casting a golden hue that breached through the treetops, and the forest stirred back into life. All the while I understood that peace was fleeting. We all knew we could no longer hide in shadows, the suggestion hung in the air like a promise. "Let us find that woman," I proposed, driven by the longing for answers that could either bind us or break us completely. "She might lead us to something. But we have to be prepared." "Prepared for what?" Mike crossed his arms, a protective barrier against new pain, but I could see the conflict woven through his brow, an echo of the same desperation in me. "Whatever truth lies waiting for us, maybe it's not just about our safety anymore. It's about facing our past," I said, as ideas sparked like embers in the fading dark, ignited by our shared purpose. And just like that, we were off, our steps resonating against the underbrush, guiding us toward answers that felt wrapped in a shroud. With each stride, I felt the weight of my life begin to pull at the corners of my heart, like strands of fate weaving together. When we finally reached the clearing, I felt a sense of déjà vu wash over me. The woman stood at the fringes, her frame silhouetted against the sun, an ethereal figure wrapped in mystery. "You came," she said softly, a hint of relief in her eyes. "Are you going to tell us what is really going on?" I challenged, unwilling to dance around the edges anymore. "What about my father?" The warmth of a gentle breeze stirred around us as she glanced anxiously back toward the path we had just come from. "We don't have much time. There are those who don't want you to know. Your father's ties run deeper than any of you realize. I can show you, but you must trust me." "Trust?" The weight of the word dripped with skepticism. But then she continued, her voice trembling with urgency. "He was involved in something critically dangerous, something that deals not just with the farms but with a group that would stop at nothing to protect their secrets that you are now entangled in because of him." My heart raced with the revelations, urgency pulsing beneath my skin. "What kind of secrets?" But before she could answer, the blow of a distant horn shattered our moment, a sound that echoed through the trees with foreboding finality. We all turned, instinctively tensing as the shadows around us shifted ominously. The fear I had hoped would stay buried rose back to the surface. "Go!" I shouted, urgency slipping through my core as I grabbed both Sarah and Mike, pulling them into the protective embrace of the tree line. But we knew we couldn't hide forever. As I maneuvered us deeper into the forest, adrenaline coursed through me, my heart pounding with fervor. It wasn't just stakes of danger anymore, it was about our sense of family, truth, and love that united us against the world. We would not be easily overtaken. We'll split up and rally back here if needed, I proposed, breathless yet resolute. Be smart, be safe, and we'll find each other. But we cannot let them take us. We have to draw them out and confront whatever lies within. As we broke away, each step felt heavy with consequence. The weight of what was transpiring hung over us like a blade, but together, we burst through branches and tumbled through wild grass, this time, not away from our fears, but toward finding the resolutions we desperately sought. That we ran through the thicket, deadly silence thrumming in the air, the soft murmurs of our inner thoughts overshadowed by rustling leaves. Somewhere, intertwined in a cacophony of chaos, was the pulse of communication that connected everything between us, a link forged from heartbreak, love, and the unyielding spirit of family. Chasing the unknown, facing demons long left behind, we would either discover the sanctuary of closure we sought or unveil the very darkness that had been haunting us from the beginning. Returning to the very heart of the struggle, I turned my path around, embracing the weight of those burdens. And with every whispered secret the forest held, I too began uncovering the breadth of who I was, who we were, woven by love and memories that had crafted strength out of hardship. And it was in that discovery that I found clarity, the answer I never thought possible, one that led me on a path of healing as I faced the past to reclaim the gift of now. Jack! Over here! Mike's shout reached my ears, pulling me back from the depths of my thoughts. I ran toward the sound, desire coursing through my veins as I crossed paths with him, thick branches snapping behind, shadows stretching large and ominous. In that moment, knowing our fates could be intertwined still, I realized nothing could fracture our bond. Not the burdens of yesterday nor fears cloaked in darkness like an eternal night. Together, we would embrace the dawn. And as the light peeked through the trees, I felt a stirring of resolve, knowing we would stand by one another, no matter what truths were revealed. No matter how deeply the roots of our shared past ran, this was no longer just a story of survival, it was a testament to the tenacity of love and the healing power of family, as we would embrace each shadow in the light of a new day and carve our destinies from the ashes of uncertainty. And as I gazed toward the horizon, the sun shimmering its golden warmth upon us, I whispered the promise into the universe: whatever happens, we'll face it together.